that we're gonna take during this semester in order to print them.
But you have them in the syllabus, right?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I said you have the titles of the poems mentioned in the syllabus. Don't you have the syllabus?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, not at all. You have any question before we start?
يعطيك العافيه. المجموعه صار بيقدروا يشاركوا الطلاب، ما في مشكله، ليكي على
على طول فاتحين.
جايز عم تسمعوا الدكتور؟ بس أنا
Okay,
ما عم
okay,
بسمع.
okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, doctor, we can.
Okay,
Yes, doctor.
okay. Okay, last time I left the discussion of at the end of the chapter that deals with the different types of approach that you have to use when you write an essay. And I said in your academic essays, you have to draw on the third person approach, which is the most objective approach which you have to use when you write an academic essay, a research paper, an MA thesis, or a PhD dissertation. In other words, you don't have to use I, and you don't have to use you. And I asked you to read 2 student essays in the following chapter. The first essay is entitled Everyday Cruelty, and the second is entitled Altered States. I'm not going to read the 2 essays online. I will go over one of them quickly to show you how you should avoid making the mistakes that we have in these essays. I will read the first essay, which is entitled Everyday Cruelty. Do you have the book?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Okay, Everyday Cruelty.
Yes, doctor.
Last week, I found myself worrying less about problems of world politics and national crime and more about smaller evils. I came home one day with a bad taste in my mouth, the kind I get whenever I witness the little cruelties that people inflict on each other. On this particular day, I had seen too much of the cruelty of the world. Now, the author uses here the I point of view, i.e. the first person approach. Here, the writer is presenting a personal experience. That's why he or she uses the first person point of view. This is number 1. Now, let us have a look at the introduction. Last week, I found myself worrying less about problems of world politics and national crime and more about smaller evils. So this is a broad sentence. It is too general. And we know that it introduces the topic when we read the fragment or the phrase and more about smaller evils. I came home one day with a bad taste in my mouth, the kind I get whenever I witness the little cruelties that people inflict on each other. So this sentence is more specific than the second. So here, this second sentence shows me as a reader that the author is trying to narrow down his paragraph to a thesis statement. Now we have a broad statement. It is more specific than the first sentence. The little cruelties that people inflict on each other. On this particular day, I had seen too much of the cruelty of the world. So this is the thesis statement.
Then he uses the funnel approach, right?
Yes, you have to use the funnel approach in all of your essays. In my classes, you have to use the funnel approach. Here the starts two general ideas. The general ideas are narrowed down to a very specific idea, which is the thesis statement. And the thesis statement is written at the end of the introduction. On this particular day, I had seen too much of the cruelty of the world. Okay, so this is the thesis statement. So I know that the author is going to deal with the cruelty that we have in the world. We don't have a plan of organization in this thesis statement. Okay, so I don't know how many controlling ideas will be developed, will be elaborated on in the body of this essay. I said it's fine. I said the thesis statement may provide a plan of organization. So may is a possibility. So it means that it may or may not. And in this thesis statement, we don't have a plan of organization. So this doesn't mean that it is not accepted. It is accepted. Okay? So on this particular day, I had seen too much of the cruelty of the world. The second paragraph. Every day I walk from the bus stop to the office where I work. This walk is my first step away from the comforts of home and into the tensions of the city. For me, a landmark on the route is a tiny patch of ground that was once strewn with rubbish and broken glass. The city is trying to make a pocket park out of it by planting trees and flowers. Every day this spring, I watched the skinny saplings put out tiny leaves. When I walked past, I always noted how big the tulips were getting and made bets with myself on when they would bloom. To pass time as I walk, I often make silly little bets with myself, such as predicting that the next man I see will be wearing a blue tie. But last Wednesday, as I reached the park, I felt sick. Someone had knocked the trees to the ground and trampled the budding tulips into the dirt. Someone had destroyed a bit of beauty for no reason. In this paragraph, we have two flaws, F-L-A-W-S. We have two weaknesses, two mistakes. As far as writing a well-organized paragraph is concerned.
Sorry, but it lacks a topic sentence from a topic sentence.
Yes, there is no topic sentence at the beginning. The paragraph lacks a topic sentence. So there should be a topic sentence that shows us what the paragraph is going to develop or to deal with. This is number one. So there is no topic sentence at the beginning. And towards the middle of the paragraph, there is a sentence that has to be omitted. In the end of the paragraph, the paragraph should deal with one main idea. So this is the meaning of unity. So a paragraph that lacks unity introduces more than one main idea. So in this paragraph, the sentence that starts with "to pass time as I walk," this sentence should be omitted. It has nothing to do with the rest of the paragraph. It is not related to the ideas that the author is presenting to support his idea. So to pass time as I walk, I often make silly little bets with myself, such as predicting that the next man I see will be wearing a blue tie. It has nothing to do with the harm caused to the flowers and the skinny saplings that the municipality is taking care in that park. Okay, so the emphasis should be here on how people destroy the saplings and the flowers and the trees that are growing in that particular spot. So this sentence should be omitted. Okay? Now in the third paragraph, i.e. the second paragraph, at lunchtime on Wednesday, I witnessed more meanness. Okay, so this means that there is a topic sentence. There is a certain kind of meanness done by people, i.e. meanness something bad. Along with dozens of other hungry, hurried people, I was waiting in line at McDonald's. Also in line was a young mother with two tired, impatient children clinging to her legs. The mother was trying to calm the children, but it was obvious that their whining was about to give way to full-fledged tantrums. The lines barely moved, and the lunchtime tension was building. And one of the children began to cry and scream. As people stared angrily at the helpless mother, the little boy's blood-curdling yells resounded through the restaurant. Finally, one man turned to her and said, "Lady, you shouldn't bring your kids to a public place if you can't control them." A young woman chimed in with another piece of cruel criticism. The mother was exhausted and hungry. Some people in line could have helped her by kneeling down to intricate on eye level with one of the kids. Instead, even though many of the customers in the restaurant were parents themselves, they treated her like a criminal. So in this paragraph, there is a sentence that needs to be followed by supporting details. Can you tell me which sentence? Can you tell me which sentence needs to be followed by more supporting details, please? It seems that you are not prepared. You haven't read the essays properly at home.
Maybe
Okay.
when the man told the woman that she must not bring her children with her.
The sentence that reads, "A young woman chimed in with another piece of cruel criticism." This is not enough. A young woman chimed in with another piece of cruel criticism. What did the young woman say to the mother? The writer should have introduced the piece of criticism that the woman said to the mother. So this is not enough. We as readers want to know what the woman said to the mother. So that's why when you write your essays, sometimes you write next to it how, not clear, ambiguous, vague, elaborate, discuss. So this is not enough. It sounds as if you were throwing words over the heads of your readers. So you have to suggest that Your reader is totally ignorant. You have to suggest that your reader is totally ignorant. You have to lead your reader throughout your essay from the very beginning to the very end. So that's why you have to support your ideas with more supporting details. Okay, so the sentence, a young woman chimed in with another piece of cruel criticism, needs to be followed by supporting details. The mother was exhausted and hungry. So the writer of this essay doesn't tell us what the young woman said to the mother. Okay, and in the following paragraph, we also have a sentence that needs to
Can
be
I
followed
tell you
by
which
supporting
sentence?
details. Let me read the paragraph first. The worst incident of mean-spiritedness that I saw that day happened after I left work. Again, here we have a topic sentence. As I walked to the bus stop, I approached an old woman huddled in a doorway. She was wrapped in a dirty blanket and clutched a cheap vinyl bag packed with her belongings. She was one of the street people our society leaves to fend for themselves. Approaching the woman from the opposite direction were three teenagers who were laughing and talking in loud voices. When they saw the woman, they began to shout crude remarks at her. They did even more cruel things to torment her. The woman stared helplessly at them like a wounded animal surrounded by hunters. Then, having had their fun, the teenagers went on their way. Okay, we need more supporting details. Where? Go on, you said you will tell me.
Yes.
Yes,
In
doctor.
the
Can I tell you?
sentence that starts
Approaching the
when
woman
they
from the
did.
opposite direction.
They did even more cruel things to
Yes,
torment
they
her.
did.
Yes, this sentence.
Yes, what
Because
else?
it's clean.
Someone was saying that from the opposite direction.
No, doctor, then they did even more cruel things to torment her.
Yes, I know, this is right. They did even more cruel things to torment her. They should provide examples of how they tormented the woman. So they may have hit the woman.
Yes, exactly.
They may have beaten her. They may have stolen her purse. Okay, so the writer should provide us examples of how they did more cruel things to torment the woman. I heard someone saying that approaching the woman from the opposite direction. This is not a sentence that needs to be followed by more examples. Again, when they saw the old woman, they began to shout crude remarks at her. The writer should give at least one example. What are the remarks that they said to her? So they may have insulted the woman. And the second sentence, they did even more cruel things to torment her. What are these cruel things that they did to torment the woman? Okay, then the following essay, Altered States. It has a thesis statement that provides a plan of organization. The thesis statement reads, confronted with inventions like television, the shopping center, and the internet, the mind will slip all by itself into an altered state. So here the thesis statement shows the reader that the writer is going to discuss 3 inventions that lead people to have altered states of mind. We have the television. This is number 1, so it means that the television is one controlling idea, the shopping center is another, and the internet is the third. So here I expect to read, since this is a short essay, 3 developmental paragraphs. Okay, so I expect to read a paragraph on the effect of the television, a paragraph on the effect of the shopping center, and a paragraph on the effect of the internet. This is number 1. Number 2, the development of the essay should proceed according to this order. What does it mean? It means that the first developmental paragraph, i.e. the first body paragraph, should deal with the effect of the television that leads to altered states of mind. The second paragraph should deal with the effect of the shopping center, and the third paragraph should deal with the effect of the internet. And in this essay we have, I think, this order. Okay, so the first paragraph deals with the effect of the television, the second deals with the shopping center, and the third deals with the effect of the internet. So this is why we say the thesis statement provides or may provide a plan of organization. And you should follow the order of the ideas that you have presented in the thesis statement. So the first idea that is mentioned, yes?
Sorry for the interruption. You mean by the pattern of organization, listing?
Listening? Not listening, not listening. Developing your essay. The thesis statement
Yes, I
here.
know, but in the thesis statement, they used listing, right?
Yes, here he is mentioning listing the inventions that lead us to have altered states of mind, these things that lead us to get distracted from what we are doing. Okay, so here they are listed in a certain order. You have the television mentioned first. Second, you have the shopping center. Third, you have the internet. So when you write your essay, the body of your essay, your first body paragraph should deal with the effect of the television. The second body paragraph should deal with the shopping center, and the third paragraph should deal with the internet. This is the meaning of a well-organized essay. Is it clear?
Yes, doctor, thank you.
Okay. Now the first development paragraph lacks a topic sentence. We don't have a topic sentence at the beginning of the first paragraph. It starts abruptly. Never in the history of humanity have people been expected to sit passively for hours, staring at moving pictures emanating from an electronic box. There should be a sentence at the very beginning that shows me that this paragraph will develop the effect of the television on human or on the mental states of man. And in the following paragraph, there is no topic sentence, no. You have the introduction, then the first developmental paragraph. The first developmental paragraph or the second paragraph lacks a topic sentence. The third paragraph has a sentence that should be omitted in the interest of paragraph unity. It is paragraph number 3. The paragraphs are numbered in the right-hand margin. You have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. In the third paragraph, there is a sentence that is not related to the topic sentence. It has nothing to do with the effect of the shopping mall on the mental state of man. Which sentence should be omitted? It is the last sentence. Some kids can be in a shopping mall for hours, but there are exceptions to the rule. We are talking about the altered states of the human mind that are caused by looking at the different objects that a human being may come across in a shopping mall. So we are not talking about whether kids spend hours and hours at a shopping mall or not. So the last sentence that reads, some kids can be in a shopping mall for hours, but they are exceptions to the rule, should be omitted. If you keep it, it means that your paragraph lacks unity.
Sorry, doctor.
Yes?
But I want to ask you a question about this passage. In this passage,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can
Yes,
hear you.
doctor.
Your friend was asking a question, but I couldn't hear her. I think she has muted herself.
Sorry,
And so
doctor.
far, she hasn't sent an answer.
Yes. I want to ask you, in this passage, we can't see any methodology. So we can know that not necessary to put a methodology in each passage.
Okay, let me tell you one thing. This chapter is taken from a composition course. And I'm sure in the academic writing course that you took last year, you were not asked to write a methodology to your topic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if I ask you to write about the causes of unemployment in Lebanon, I don't expect you to write a methodology at this level. But in a literature course like this one, if you have a methodology, you have to write the methodology, right?
Okay.
So the poem that we are going to discuss today is entitled Perda. And it is a poem written by Sylvia Plath. I told you last time, right? And my methodology, my approach to analyzing Perda is the feminist literary theory. And I introduced feminism of the last session. So this is your methodology. Now you have a methodology. Since you have a methodology or an approach to analyzing Perda, you have to mention your methodology in your essay, and it is a research paper in this case. So after you write the introduction to your topic, you have to write a paragraph which introduces the methodology. Is it clear? So the introduction should be related to the poem in general, or to the topic in general. One of you asked me or sent me a message asking about how to introduce an essay on mythology in King Lear. I said to her, your introduction should be related to the play King Lear, to the topic. You narrow down the introduction to the thesis statement. So in this case, you can say that this is the thesis statement, in King Lear, Shakespeare draws on myth as a means of presenting the role of the ruler in a certain society. This is the thesis statement. Period. You start a new paragraph. So the new paragraph should introduce your methodology. After you present the methodology, i.e. here you define myth as it is used as a critical approach to literature. You present the elements of myth that apply to King Lear. You don't have to write everything related to myth. So you don't have to tell me about the history of myth. So you don't have to start with the history of myth in ancient Greece, then you proceed to the history of myth in Roman literature, then you proceed to the 16th century. No, you have to present the main ideas of myth that are related to literary criticism, i.e. that we use them as means of analyzing works of literature. Okay? Now in this essay, so if I ask you to write, let's say, about your ideal person, I don't expect you to write a methodology. I gave you an example last time. I said my sister is my ideal person because she is faithful, ambitious, and trustworthy. So here I expect to read 3 paragraphs. Okay? So the methodology usually comes after the introduction. So you can't write your methodology. Yes.
This way
So
of writing is for linguistics and literature students, or only for literature?
All of you, yes. Even when you want to write a paper on linguistics, you have to introduce your topic. You may want to write on language acquisition, let's say. Yes,
Doctor,
Yeah.
I can't hear.
yes, we can't hear
Your
you.
voice
There's an
is
echo.
unclear.
Okay. Now it will be better. Right?
No, we can't hear you, doctor. There's an echo.
There is a problem.
What about now?
Also, no.
All of you? All of you?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor. Yes, yes. Beautiful.
Better?
No.
Not
What
clear.
about the others?
No, doctor, not clear.
Change your direction. Change your place. You may be sitting in a wrong place.
No, all of us.
Doctor, we can hear. I can hear my friend, but the doctor no.
What?
We all have the same problem.
Yes, doctor, cannot hear anything.
When anyone else talk, I can hear it well, but the doctor no.
Yes.
Okay, what about now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
There
Okay,
is an echo.
Yes, much better.
Yes,
Okay,
we can
you don't have
hear
to
you. I
worry
can
about
hear
the
you.
echo. You don't have to worry about the echo. Okay, so you write the introduction first. Then after the introduction, you have to write your methodology. And your methodology should not be longer than your analysis. Now, in the past, the students used to write, let's say, a one-paragraph introduction, a one-page introduction, a one-page methodology, and a one-page analysis. This is not a good essay. It lacks proportion. The introduction and the methodology should not be longer than the body. Okay? So it is enough to write a paragraph on the introduction, a paragraph on the methodology, then the rest of the essay should be related to your analysis of the subject. And you have to know that. Yes?
We have to write an outline for the research paper and the exam.
Maybe. We will talk about this later on.
Doctor?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Regarding the methodology, it's like the themes that critics provide.
It is not a theme. The theme is related to the thesis statement. The methodology is the critical approach that you will use. Okay. Now in linguistics, you have different approaches. I said in linguistics you have the quantitative method. The quantitative method means that you have a lot of statistics to do. You have percentages to present. You have to calculate the S score, the Z score, and what have you, standard deviation. You may have the qualitative method. The qualitative method means that you use a small sample on which you build your analysis. You have the mixed method, which is a mix of both the quantitative method and the qualitative method. You will study these methods in detail next semester in the course which is entitled Critical Approaches to Research in Linguistics. You have also different methods of collecting data, how to collect information. You may have interviews, you may have questionnaires, you may have the narrative approach, i.e. you may ask your the sample that you want to work on to write about something. You want to write, let's say, about second language acquisition. You get, let's say, 15 or 10 students, and you ask them to write about their experience of learning English as a second language. So you take what they write, and you build your own analysis on what they had written. Is it clear? So these are different approaches that you use in linguistics. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, in literature, we have different approaches. In literature, we use what we call the critical theory, i.e. the theories that you study in literary criticism. So these theories of literary criticism form what we call a critical approach or critical approaches to analyzing works of literature. And if you have an approach, you will be able to understand a work of literature clearly. If you don't have an approach, you may not be able to come up with the same ideas that the person who applies a certain approach to the text. Okay, now in literature, you have different literary theories. You may apply the mythological approach, as we did in the Shakespeare course. We talked about King Lear from a mythological point of view. We talked about Othello from a Jungian point of view. It is psychoanalysis. the idea of the persona, the shadow, and the anima. This is also an approach. It is the psychoanalytic approach to literature. So when I introduced the concept of the persona, the concept of the anima, the concept of the shadow, the analysis of the play became clear to you. And I said, for example, the persona is the identity or man's identity that is acceptable to the society. It is similar to the ego. So the ego is the part of a human personality that is known to all people. Right? So if you are controlled by the persona according to Carl Jung, it means that you will be approved of by society. Now, the anima is the soul image that man, the soul image of man, i.e. it is the ideal thing that man aspires to have. So in Othello, the anima is represented by both Iago and Desdemona. Okay, so Iago represents the animus of Desdemona. Desdemona wants to be married to a man who is a hero, who is a knight, who goes through or who goes on journeys and faces troubles and obstacles and subdues all of them. That's why she has fallen in love with him. She has fallen in love with the knight, with the hero, with the adventurer, with the man who has moral values. And Othello sees her as his anima. She represents the moral values that he believes in. So that's why they are united in death. Okay? So they sacrifice themselves for the sake of building a human community that cherishes the values that Othello and Desdemona believe in. Iago represents the shadow because he is the evil part of the human nature. So this methodology, this approach, leads you to better understand certain work of literature. Okay, so these are different approaches. What?
Here the methodology is psychoanalysis, right? Because
yes, in the case of Othello, it is the Jungian theory of psychoanalysis or personality development.
Okay. And doctor, can we have more than methodology in one novel, for example?
It depends. Yes, sometimes you may have more than one point of view. Okay, but when you write a paper, you have to approach a novel or a poem from one point of view. Okay? For example, you may have a novel that can be analyzed from a Marxist point of view as well as from a feminist point of view. So in this case, you may choose either Marxism or feminism.
Depending on the question, right?
Yes. Sometimes you may have a combination of two methodologies. So if the two methodologies help you understand the text better, and if it helps you present a good analysis, it's fine. But I think it would be better for you in a course like this one to follow one methodology. Okay? Now sometimes I present more than one methodology in my courses. And on the exam, I ask a question related to one, so the answer should be related to one methodology, not to two.
Yes, okay, doctor.
Okay? Now in Sylvia Plath's poem, we have a feminist poet dealing with the status of women in a patriarchal society. So that's why, yes.
I want to ask you a question about how to differentiate between an essay and the research paper. Just inputting methodology, it will be an essay will change from an essay to research paper.
In a research paper, you have also to quote, to read sources, you have to read articles, books, journals, and you have to use the information that you have read in these sources to support your own analysis. So you have to quote You have to introduce your quotes. You have to incorporate your quotes into your essay. You have to document them. This becomes a research paper. Okay, so a research paper is an essay that is supported with secondary sources or with
And it's
information
longer, right?
taken from secondary sources. Yes?
It is longer than the essay.
Of course, the essay may be 2 pages long or 3 pages long. It depends on what the teacher wants you to write. But when you write a research paper, it should be 5 pages or more. Okay, so a research paper is an extended essay. This is number one. Number two, you have to support your analyses with information, with ideas taken from authentic sources. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Not clear?
Yes.
What is not clear? Since you said no.
Doctor,
Yeah.
me, just repeat the idea.
What? Do you have a question?
Doctor, I just repeat the idea. I didn't get it.
Which idea do you want me to repeat?
About the research paper.
I said the research paper is an extended essay. I mean, this is longer than the essay. An essay may be 1 page long, 2 pages long, 3 pages long. It may be 5, it may be 10, it's fine. But the difference is that in a research paper, you have to read articles, books, secondary sources, in other words, to help you conduct your research. So you take information, ideas from these works to support your analyses or to introduce new information to your own analysis. Okay, so in this case, you take information from a primary source or from a secondary source. You have to introduce the information. You have to write it within quotation marks. You have to document it at the end, i.e. within parentheses. You have to write the family name of the author and the number of the page, and the quote that you have introduced should be analyzed. You don't have to insert it into a essay to show me that you are writing a research paper. Okay? Sometimes it is not enough to take a sentence from a book and to insert it into your essay. You have to link it to what precedes it and to what comes after it. Or sometimes you need to analyze it. So it's not enough. For example, you can say that Hamlet realizes that he is at the mercy of fate. Then you say, he says, "Oh, cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right." Period. Then you write another idea. This is not enough. This is not enough. Okay? You can say, Hamlet realizes that he is living at the mercy of fate. Period. He says, comma, quote, and when I say quote, it means افتح quotation marks. ما بنقول بالإنجليزي open quotation marks. This is wrong. This is translation from Arabic. So instead of saying open quotation marks, you have to say quote, Q-U-O-T. So you say Hamlet says, comma, quote, and here you have to write his exact words as they are, since you are quoting. So, oh, cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right. unquote. It means you have to close your quotation mark. This is what we mean unquote. U-N-Q-U-O-T-E. You unquote, then within parentheses, you write. Now it is a play. And since it is a play, you have to mention the number of the act. Maybe it is Act 1. I'm not sure. I have quoted the statement, but I'm not sure which act it is taken from. So we say Act 1. Instead of writing Act 1, we write capital Roman numeral 1, comma, you have to mention the number of the scene. Let's say it is scene 2. Lowercase Roman numeral 2. Then comma. I think these are 2 lines. So we have to mention the numbers of the lines, not the number of the page in this case. So let's say lines 10 and 11, like 10 to 11. And then period. This is how you quote, and this is how you document. Wait a minute. So this is how you quote. So you introduce your quote by saying Hamlet says, then you insert a comma. After the comma, you write the statement that you want to quote within quotation marks. After the quotation marks, you write within parentheses, i.e. within brackets. Now, since this is a play, you write the number of the act, the number of the scene, and the number of the lines that you have quoted. Then a period. After you are done with this, you have to analyze what Hamlet means by this statement. So he says, "Oh, cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right." So here you have to tell me what he wants to say. So here you say Hamlet believes that it is his duty to right the wrongs done in Denmark. So Denmark has been reduced to the level of a jungle as a result of the reign of his uncle and mother. So he needs, it is his duty, his fate, to destroy the state of nature and to reintroduce the social order into the kingdom. So this is how you incorporate. This is how you incorporate, how you work your quote into your paragraph. You incorporate or work. Okay, incorporate, I-N-C-O-R-P-O-R-A-T-E. This is how you work your quote into your paragraph. So you don't have to present what we call a dangling quote, dangling, D-A-N-G-L-I-N-G, dangling, يعني معلق عند لق. It is related neither to the previous sentence nor to the sentence that follows it. Okay, you have a question, go on. A student was interrupting me. I said, hold on for a minute. Go on. You have the ground now. You have the floor.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. I was asking if these information are for the research paper, not for an essay, yes?
Yes, he is asking me about the difference between the essay and the research paper. I am answering his question. This is Ali Tariq.
Okay, thank you a lot.
And in this course, when you write the exam, you have to take statements from the poems that you have for the final exam. I will give you a text, and you have to support your analysis by quoting. If you don't quote, you will not pass the course, because the exam will be an application of what you will learn throughout the semester. So everything that I say in this class should be implemented when you write the final exam. So it is not enough to write an essay without quoting, even if you write a perfect answer. I will not give you a passing grade.
Sorry,
you have to take into account the content, i.e. the meaning, as well as the form. So we have research skills, to acquire throughout the course, and you have to use these skills as you write your final exam. It is not only a matter of memorizing the notes that you take in class. Okay, here I have presenters 59. How many meetings have you started?
Doctor, can I ask you something? Sorry for
Let me ask this question first.
Okay.
How many meetings have you started? You have to follow my meeting only. That's why you always tell me you have a noise, you have a buzzing sound when I talk. You don't have to start any meeting. I start the meeting and you have to join my meeting, all of you. I want to see this presenters 59 on my screen. We have one meeting. Follow that meeting and record it. You are not the teacher. If you do it again, I will report all of you to the dean. I am the only presenter here, not you. Do you have any question?
Doctor, can I ask you something, please?
Okay, go on. It seems that some of you are muting me, especially those who start a meeting.
Doctor, can I ask you or no?
Let me tell you one thing. If I get muted by any one of you, I will rip you off on the final exam. والله لا استخدمتكم بالفاينل. This behavior is unacademic. This is the behavior of lazy students. Okay, go on.
Doctor, so the tactics and the actions that we take during the class, we will منطبقهم during the exam, right?
Of course, you have to use them when you write your final exam.
Okay, thank you, doctor. So they're applied during the exam, right?
Yes.
Okay, doctor, thank you.
Now, at the beginning of each paragraph, you have to indent, i.e., you have to skip a space at the beginning of each paragraph.
Doctor, and the essay we're taking as examples during the class are examples for us to apply later on?
I will not ask you to write because we don't have the technique. Follow the instructions. You may write your essays at home for yourself to implement what I'm teaching you in this course. So at the beginning of each paragraph, you have to leave a space. This is the meaning of indenting. You have to leave a space at the beginning of each paragraph.
So, doctor, the exam will be an essay?
Yes, on the exam you have to write a well-organized, thought-out essay. The essay is supposed to be written as a research paper.
Okay, doctor. So my question is, based on the essays that we've read, we're gonna apply one of the techniques during the exam, right?
Yes, yes. What technique you mean?
I mean, the notes that we're taking, for example, like write an argumentative essay or descriptive essay.
No, you are not going to write descriptive essays, argumentative essays. You are going to write a research paper. I will give you a poem, a topic related to the poem, and here you have to analyze the poem as if you were writing a research paper, just as you write an essay for the Shakespeare course.
Yes, doctor. Thank you.
You are not going to write descriptive essays. You did this last year. You did this last year.
Not. Doctor, the same strategy or different?
Which strategy? You have to write an introduction. At the end of the introduction, you write a thesis statement. After the thesis statement, you write a paragraph in which you present your methodology. After the methodology, you write the body of your research paper. After the body, you write a conclusion.
Yes, doctor.
And the conclusion should be a summary of the main ideas of your research paper or your essay that you write in the exam.
Thank you, doctor.
Not at all. Okay. Today we will discuss Perda. Perda is a poem written by the American poetess Sylvia Plath, and the poem is a highly feminist poem because it deals with the status of women in a patriarchal society and with how women should liberate themselves according to Sylvia Plath. So in the first part of the poem, Sylvia Plath presents the status of women in a patriarchal society, and in the last 4 or 6 stanzas, she shows the reader how she wants to liberate herself from the constraints of her society. Last time I introduced the methodology to this course, to this poem, and I said the approach to analyzing this poem is the feminist literary theory, and I introduced the main concepts of the feminist theory that apply to this poem. So this is your methodology for this poem. Is it clear?
Yes, doctor, clear.
Okay. Okay. Before I proceed with my discussion of the poem, I have to tell you that tomorrow, Friday, at 10:15, we have a make-up session. Is it clear? We have a make-up session from 10:15 to almost...
We have another class.
No, you don't have a class. At 10:15, at 10:15 you don't have classes. I checked your schedule. On Friday, you don't have classes. At 10:15.
1 minute, doctor.
Doctor, we have
Yes.
word literature with Dr. Rasha Halat. She changed it from Wednesday to Friday. So tomorrow at
Why?
10 we have word literature. Because for
Doctor, we're
with
free
Dr.
at
Halat.
8:30 if you want. At 8:30 or 3:30, we can take a class.
Yes, at 3:30 we don't have class.
At 8:30 we have stylistics.
3:30.
Okay, 3:30 would be good. I think the doctor is muted or something. Doctor, you are muted just in case you don't know.
Okay, we will have a makeup session on Saturday. What do you think?
Doctor, why
Yes.
not at 3:30 Friday?
3:30 I have
Yes,
language
Saturday.
students and literature students. If the language students are free, the literature students are not free. We will have a makeup session on Saturday at 8:30. It is final.
Okay.
Yes.
I will take a note.
Better.
On Saturday at 8:30.
Okay, doctor.
Sorry,
Okay.
doctor, but for what time? From 8:30 for what time?
Maybe 8:30 till 10.
Okay.
Okay. The third, jade, stone of the side, the agonized side of green Adam. I smile cross-legged, enigmatical, shifting my clarities. Did you read the poem?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, what is it all about?
Yes,
I will not start before you tell me what you have understood.
Yes, I want to
maybe.
tell you something.
Can I tell you?
Yes, go on.
Maybe the poetess Sylvia Plath is portraying the woman in that society, how she was, how she was out of her freedom, out of her mental thinking. She was out of her anything make her free.
Okay, go on.
Me, I want to say something. Yes, can I?
Yes, okay, go on.
Can I?
Of course. The one who started first. Go on.
The poem refers to the figure of a woman sitting on a stone. She feels enclosed by her husband. In the poem, there are names of the caged animals.
Yes. Okay, go on.
Somebody muted me, I think so. She changes from an oppressed woman to a strong woman.
Yes.
This is when Plath says, I shall unloose. She mentions first a doll, then a lioness. She becomes as a lioness and...
Okay, Ola.
Can I, doctor?
I'm not muting myself, doctor. Somebody, I think so, is muting me.
يا تلميذ المحترم أو التلميذ المحترمة مين معروف حاجة تعني unmuting. هاي دي قلة أدب وقلة أخلاق حتى بيسمعها رئيس الجامعة. هل عم يعمل ميوت إلي أو للطلاب هذه أو هو وهي للأدب وللأخلاق وبلا تربية. لو عندكم شوية أدب لا تعملوا هيك، أنتم ما خرجوا تكونوا بجامعة، خرجوا تكونوا بالشوارع. Okay, Ola, go on.
Yes, doctor, thank you. She becomes as a lioness and no longer as a doll. The lioness fights to show her inner self. So the poet wrote this poem to give a turning point into which it calls for change and the motivation to change this image and fight for women's freedom.
Okay, Ola.
There is an image that shows caged birds that are unable to sing, just as women who are unable to speak their thoughts. Also, there is a picture of ownership and power, since they are treated as objects that are owned by men. They can't experience their lives. So there is patriarchal domination in society and objectivity, fying. Yes, they are treated as objects, I think so.
Yes.
This is what I want to say. Thank you, doctor.
Okay, not at all. Okay, Ferda, this is the title. Ferda is a way of keeping women away from getting into contact with males. And you have it also in the footnote. So Ferda is a kind, this is a system, but it is also a kind of dress that woman uses to cover all of her body from the head to the toes, so that she will not be seen by others, especially by male figures. Okay, so now the woman in this poem sees herself as a woman covered with a turban. So she starts the poem as jade, and you have a dash. And after the dash, you have a clarification of what the poet means by jade. Now, jade is a precious stone. So the lady sees herself as an object, as a precious stone that is owned by the male figure of her society. Okay, so the woman is a jade for her husband. So that's why her husband wants to keep her isolated from her society. So she says, jade, stone of the side, the agonized side of green Adam. Here the poet is referring to the Christian myth of the creation of Eve out of one of the ribs of Adam. The ribs, R-I-B-S. Okay, so this, the very beginning of the poem refers to the Christian myth of the creation of Eve, E-V-E, out of one of the ribs of Adam. That's why she says stone of the side, the agonized side of green Adam. So this means that a woman is a part of her husband. Okay, she is a part of his body. So that's why the husband treats her as if she were an object that belongs solely to him. Okay, so a woman, a female figure, is an object owned, possessed by her husband. Jade, stone of the side, the agonized side of green Adam. And the green Adam here means Adam who was living alone in Eden before the creation of Eve. And the green color here means innocence. Yes, Adam in Eden was living in a state of innocence. And he wanted someone to keep him company, according to the Old Testament. That's why God
Sorry,
Doctor,
doctor,
you
you
are
are in mute.
muted again.
يا عمي معقولة في حدا عن جد عم يعمل ميوت؟
جايز خلص يعني عن جد بدنا نفهم شيء، شو هيدا كل دقيقتين ميوت؟
يعني his
This is too
voice
much.
والله عن جد كثير هالقد بكفي صوت الدكتور
I can't
منه
hear
واضح
anything.
كمان.
Okay.
Doctor, may I tell you something?
Yes.
If you can talk to Dr. Muhammad Shakir, there is something on Teams that you can do, so you don't let your students unmute themselves or unmute you. Dr. Shakir for this, because this is too much.
Yes. I looked for it today. I didn't find it on my system. I'll talk to him later on, but I will talk to Dr. Fattah, to the academic director, and to the dean also.
Thank you so much.
Okay, not at all. Okay, so stone of the side, the agonized side of green Adam. Okay, so green Adam means Adam who was still living in a state of innocence in Eden, i.e. before the fall of Adam and Eve from heaven. So that's why she uses the color green in the slide. I smile, cross-legged, enigmatical, shifting my clarities. Okay, so she sits cross-legged, enigmatical, shifting her clarities. So this means that she is not herself. A woman who is living in a patriarchal society is not allowed to act, to behave according to her own beliefs and standards and visions. So that's why she says, I smile enigmatical. Yes, she is not herself. So when we look at her, we see her as she looks, but deep down she is completely different. So that's why she says, enigmatical, shifting my clarities. So valuable. So she is a highly valuable object for her husband.
Doctor,
Yes.
you mean that she can't express her own nature or her own beliefs?
Yes, she behaves according to the dictates of her patriarchal society. Okay, she behaves according to the dictates of her society. She doesn't act according to her own beliefs, according to her own convictions. So that's why she says, I smile, cross-legged, enigmatical, shifting my clarity. So valuable. How the sun polishes this shoulder. Yes, she compares herself to a precious stone, and the precious stone here is jade. How the sun polishes this shoulder. And should the moon, my indefatigable cousin, rise with her cancerous pallors, dragging trees, little bushy polyps, little nuts, my visibility's height, I gleam like a mirror. Okay? So by day and by night, the woman doesn't act according to her own beliefs and convictions. So that's what she says, how the sun polishes this shoulder. Okay, so by day, she acts according to the dictates of her husband, or according to the dictates of the male figure of her society. Also at night, she doesn't have the freedom to act out of her own will. So that's why she said, and should the moon, so the moon right, and should the moon, my indefatigable cousin, rise with her cancerous pallors, dragging trees, little bushy polyps, little nets, my visibility's height, I gleam like a mirror. Therefore, in a patriarchal society, the female figure is like a mirror that reflects the customs and the traditions of her society. Okay? So the woman's role in a patriarchal society is to reflect the laws and the customs of her patriarchal society. So she is not her real self. She is stripped of her identity as a real human being. Okay? So her identity as a human being is given her by her society. So that's why she says, I gleam like a mirror. So a mirror reflects what passes in front of it. Okay? So it means that the mirror is a symbol of imitation. And the woman in a patriarchal society imitates what her society wants her to do. Okay? So she is not her real self. At this facet, the bridegroom arrives, Lord of the mirrors. Now the bridegroom is the husband here. He is the Lord of the mirrors. Okay? I.e., he is her own Lord. It is himself he guides in among these silk screens, these rustling appurtenances. Okay? So the lady compares the customs, the conventions, the laws of her patriarchal society to clothes that she puts on. That's why she says, he guides himself in among these silk screens, these rustling appurtenances. Okay, so she puts on the conventions of her society as if they were different kinds of dress that she puts on. Okay, so the husband is the Lord of these mirrors. He, in other words, her own Lord. He controls her life through these conventions and customs. I breathe. Yes.
Why she viewed her husband as a lord?
Because he possesses her. I said the female figure is possessed, is owned by the male figures of her society. So the male figure here could be the husband, and in this case it is the husband. In the case of this woman, the owner of the woman is her husband. That's why she says the Lord of the mirrors. Okay, so he possesses her. So she is all mirrors. So her clothes or the conventions of the society are presented as clothes that she puts on. So that's why the poem is entitled Perda. So Perda here stands for the social conventions and traditions and customs that control women's behavior. And that's why at the end of the poem, she wants to shed the cloak of hers. So the cloak here is it is a dress. So the conventions of her society are like an old-fashioned piece of cloth that she wants to get rid of, she wants to destroy. in order to have her own freedom, her liberty as a human being. Okay? So I breathe, and the mouth veil stirs its curtain. Okay? So there is even a veil on her mouth. So the veil that is put on her mouth is symbolic of what the society wants her to say. So the society doesn't give her the freedom to express herself. Okay? So the female figure in a patriarchal society lacks the freedom of expression. So this is what she wants to say through the lines, I breathe, and the mouth veil stirs its curtain. Okay? So she is not allowed to express herself. The female figure in
That's
a patriarchal
mean that she
society
is suffering.
doesn't have right. What?
That means that she is suffering.
Of course, she is suffering as a result of lack of freedom of expression, freedom of movement, and what have you. I think it is time to stop because we have a class at 1:45 with Dr. Sonia Psaibis.
Doctor,
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes. What is it?
Concerning this poem, if
Yeah.
you gave it in the exam and we want to, you want us to have to write a research about it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If we wanted to write quotes or some sentences from it, we should write there's no scene here. Neither
no?
it is scene, and it's not a play.
Yes, here you mentioned the number of the page. And I number the pages 1, 2, 3. So we use the numbers that I provide at the exam. Okay. So if the quote appears on the page which is numbered 1, you write P1. You don't have to memorize the numbers that you have here in the book.
No.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, so you can say the lady in the poem comma says, I breathe and the mouth veil stirs its curtain, unquote. For example, within parentheses you write, if you are a literature student, you write only the number of the page. You write, let's say it is page 1, you write 1. Okay. If you are a language student, you write P period 1, then you write a period. You analyze the quote. This means that the woman lacks the freedom of expressing herself. So the veil that she has on her mouth is symbolic of what her society wants her to say, period. Is it clear?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay. Do you have a class with Dr. Sonia Psaibis? Do you have a class with Dr. Sonia? Do you have a class with Dr. Sonia? Yes, okay, I will dismiss the class now. On Saturday, you will ask me what you want to ask. So go to Dr. Sonia's class, please.
Thank you. Okay, doctor, bye.
Thank you, doctor.
Okay, not at all. Not at all. Okay, we will meet next time.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.